Hello, everyone, and welcome to the JNL show. I'm your host, Jennifer Nicole Lee. Now, before we get started, I want you to go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe so you will be automatically notified when I go live or upload fresh new content. A little about me. I've been a transformational life coach for close to 20 years. I'm the author of 17 books, with my latest being Volume 2 of Reclaim and Unleash Your VIP Power Book. And many of you know I've been a YouTuber for, oh my goodness, since 2006. So I love this channel, and I always love finding new and interesting people like my special guest today. But before I get to our guest, I just want to make sure that we all understand the power of the mind, of setting intentions, of when you see a sign, you recognize it and you take heed to it. Again, I want you to take the information that I'm going to present here on my show for what it is. You know, we all have the power of believing what we want to believe, and that is a very big power. So with that being said, I want to introduce you to an amazing guest. His name is Timothy Schultz. Now, he is a film festival producer, filmmaker, author, and something very interesting happened to him about 20 years ago. He had a very vivid, lucid dream, almost like a revelation or a sign that something would happen, that he actually won the Powerball. He won the lottery. He said it was so real that he actually believed he was going to win, and he sold himself the winning Powerball ticket, and it actually came true. Now, that's his story in a nutshell, but I'm going to let him talk about the details and also his current projects as well. With that being said, welcome Timothy Schultz to the JNL show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Amazing. First of all, I love your channel. Great content, very motivational, very eye-opening. And as I said in the intro, I love the power of the mind. And when people receive signs that this happens, I gave a little bit of a Reader's Digest version of your incredible story. But I just want to kind of walk down memory lane with that very interesting, vivid dream you had about winning the Powerball, which was so real, you said, that it was almost like more like a revelation that you kind of like it's you knew it was going to happen. So then you played with that intention. Tell us more about that experience and that dream.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was 1999. So way back in the day, but it's one of the biggest things that's ever happened to me was this lottery win, this Powerball win. I was 21 years old at the time. So one of the youngest winners in the United States, at least. And so in regards to the dream, a few months before I won, I had this very vivid dream that within the dream, I had already won the lottery. It had already happened. And that particular day, I was feeling a little down on my luck and financially related to money. And I was working 40 to 60 hours a week at a gas station, trying to put myself through college, and sleeping on an air mattress and living in this efficiency, which for people that don't know, it's basically an apartment with one big room, the kitchen, everything's in the same room, and sleeping on this air mattress. So I wasn't homeless, but I definitely wasn't wealthy. And I was feeling a little down on my luck in regards to finances this particular day. And I went to sleep with the intention of seeking hope. And I had this dream. Within the dream, I had already won the lottery. It had already happened. And it was so real that I woke up, and it took a little bit to understand that it hadn't happened. It was that real. And so I believed very strongly after that dream that it was going to happen, that because it was so real. And so I told people after this happened, I'm going to win the lottery. This is going to happen. And some people were like, oh, Tim, that crazy Tim, but I believed it. And then other people were like, oh, you would win if anyone's going to win. But anyway, I believed that it was going to happen. And so I started playing a little more consistently after that dream. And I was working at a gas station and sold myself the ticket. And on that particular day that I did win, when I remember looking at the numbers and thinking that just my gut feeling, my intuition, my instinct said, I really felt like this ticket is going to win. And so I told my coworkers and I told my friends, and after work that particular day, I was playing a card game with some friends. It was a color-coded card game, and I'm partially color blind. So there's certain shades of magenta, which is right around the purple range that I can't see. So it was a guessing game. Pretty much the card game was a guessing game of matching colors, and I couldn't see some of the colors. So I guessed and won practically every hand. And, maybe that's just coincidence, but the fact that I couldn't see all the colors, and I told people that I was going to win. And then I won that night. But that morning, at that point in time, this was a few months after the dream. So that morning I had another dream that signified the end of something. And right as this dream was happening, my father was banging on my door because I was living in my parents' basement at that time. And, he said, Tim, get up. Someone won the Powerball. Someone won the lottery at your gas station and you sold the winning ticket. Because my boss called and left a voice message because the media was there at the gas station wanting, interviews, and because it was a small town. So it's a big story where I lived. And so people were wanting interviews and they knew that I had sold the ticket. So anyway, my father woke me up and he's like, did you buy a ticket? You sold the ticket. And so he wondered. And then I got out of bed and searched everywhere for the ticket. I was frantic because, I just thought in my groggy state, yes, I did buy a ticket. I told everyone I was going to win, and I bought this ticket, and maybe I won. Maybe I actually won. I started freaking out and I couldn't find the ticket anywhere. And I found it finally crumpled up in a ball, and went up and compared the numbers from the ticket to the numbers in the newspaper, because at that time there weren't smartphones and, what the internet wasn't what it is today.
Right.
So I compared the numbers to the newspaper and they matched, and we just started jumping up and down, like hugging each other. Like I felt like a little kid in a candy store or something, but it was really surreal. Right. Really surreal. It's one of the craziest. It felt like a dream that I couldn't wake up from.
That is an incredible story. Not only that, Tim, that you had the premonition or the dream that you won, but the day in the morning that you were named the winner, you had the dream of the end of something, the end of financial strife, the end of stressing over finances and paying bills and whatnot. And it was almost like bookended that season of the dream of winning to then that era, that season ending. That's a very interesting, everyone watching, please, I'm not here to persuade you. Tim and I are not here to persuade you to think a certain thing. You're here to decide for yourself. But I just find it so interesting and captivating that you almost set out the intention, you felt it, almost like you felt lucky, and you had the conviction enough to say, no, I'm going to win, and that you had the card game where you're colorblind, but you were still winning. It was like a lucky streak, as they call it. So I liked how you actually named it and then you claimed it almost, just like kind of tongue in cheek, because you had a vivid dream and you're telling everyone I'm going to win, and you started playing more frequently. Do you believe in, or do you feel like, from you speaking it into existence? Because in my online coaching program, I talk about speak it into existence. From nothing, you can speak something. Looking back with 20 years of kind of like hindsight, have you been able to see how that is a power, maybe from, not only winning the Powerball, but other projects that you're working on? Because I know you're a film festival founder, you're an author, you're a filmmaker, and you have to really kind of visualize and see a lot of the things before they happen. As a producer myself, I have to visualize a project at the end result and then name and claim it. This is going to happen, and then walk through the steps. Kind of share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think visualization is very powerful. Can be very powerful. It stems from imagination. That's where it comes from. And that's a whole nother story. Imagination, like everything that this camera I'm talking into right now to see you and to speak to everyone, airplanes, automobiles, anything was first imagined before it existed. It existed somewhere else. Where? It comes from. Imagination is very powerful. Visualization is very powerful. And if you act upon what you imagine, that can become reality, because that's how everything is created. This paint on the wall behind me, the colors, everything. So to me, that's really astonishing when you think of that sort of thing, because it does start from imagination. And I believe to a large extent, anything is possible. But as far as, speaking it into existence, that's a really interesting topic as well. And first of all, before I dive into this, if anyone is watching this that is skeptical of this sort of thing, and they think that, oh, the lottery, that's just a coincidence that you had a dream about it and then you won, and all these things are, I have respect for the skeptics watching or listening to this. As I say, I'm not here to convince anyone of anything, but I am being authentic. And I do find it very interesting that there are people that have won. So I did say I was going to win before I won. And I know if you really study about manifesting and that sort of thing, that people will say that really does something. I just interviewed someone that won $112 million, and she did that. She vocalized it and said she was going to win $112 million. And then it happened. And there are plenty of stories like that, not just with the lottery, but with lots of things in life where people visualize and then they say, and I think there is, I think there's something
big power to that. And I would love to add to your points, everyone watching, as a coach, I teach my global audience that if you were to be an Olympic gold medalist training in the Olympics, and there was an actual division of manifesting, and you were going to be a gold medalist in manifesting and manifesting your wants and your desires and your goals, I really have to agree with what you said. Visualization is so important. Speak it into existence, name it and claim it. Now, I want to kind of ask you, before you had that dream, did you ever have like any big premonitions, any signs, any divine downloads? Would you have considered yourself a spiritual person? I know you're very young at that time, 21, but did you have anything that humongous happen to you? Or was that just like the pinnacle when everything started really to kind of happen with you, with manifesting and seeing things and dreams and stuff?
No, I had quite a few dreams about things before they had come true. And there was a difference in the type of dream. And that's why the dream convinced me that it was going to happen. It wasn't just that I dreamt about winning the lottery. It's that I had a history of having dreams that came true. And so this happened to be one of them, but it was a different sensation. It's almost like and I'm not the only person, there's lots of people this happens to, but it's almost like a vibrational sensation that where I felt as if I was going to another place, sort of. It's hard to verbalize, but basically I felt that I was gaining information. I strongly believe in God. And I'm a very spiritual person, and I was this way prior to the lottery as well. And I think that's just grown over the years, but I was very open-minded and believed that we're part of something greater than ourselves, that we're all connected. And I believe that you can gain answers through dreams. It doesn't have to be through dreams, but I believe that's one way where you can gain a connection into something beyond ourselves. And so
very powerful.
I've had many dreams about things and people and situations before or as they are happening. And so I just find that very, very interesting. And where does that come from? There are quantum physicists that believe that there is no time. And, if you take, I believe I just heard this the other day, that if you take a watch and you go above Earth into space, it will operate differently. So the time
Yes.
was invented here, in this. We invented time. There are quantum physicists that believe this. They don't quite understand what time is.
Wow.
The past, the present, the future, but now is what's happening right now, this instant. This is happening.
Oh, I love it. I'm getting
It's
chills.
interesting.
I'm
It's
getting
interesting.
chills as you're talking because I resonate with a lot of what you're saying, because I too, Tim, and a lot of our audience members around the world can really resonate because they've had similar experiences. They've had divine download signs. And like you said, it could be through a dream. It could be through meditation. It could be through prayer. We have a very big spiritual audience here with our VIP queens, as I call our audience members. And we all are believers. And I think with the power of believing, I love that you also bring in the law of metaphysics. I'm a big Einstein fan. I see Einstein right behind you, which is really cool. And really about how you can almost put a psychic demand on the universe, or put a psychic demand on your goals and dreams. And a little bit about me: I was raised on food stamps, came from nothing, wore hand-me-downs. I had a very bleak childhood, but I, Tim, and everyone watching, was able to manifest my dream life. So I know the power of manifesting myself, and the power of thoughts and beliefs. I have a very interesting question for you. I've always felt lucky for some interesting reason. It wasn't something that I wished, but I saw things happen to me where I'd high favor, or, and I'm getting chills as I say this again, goosebumps, another sign. But did you always feel like you were kind of lucky or highly favored, or you didn't really fit in, and that you were kind of, I don't want to say special, but there was something a little bit different, and you were lucky, or how do you put it in your words? Did you ever feel that kind of way?
I did. Through my whole life, I felt lucky and fortunate in
Yes.
lots of aspects of life. And so I felt lucky before I won the lottery. And I find it very interesting too, when I interview other lottery winners on my podcast on YouTube, that I do ask that question from time to time. And it's interesting that the lottery winners, a lot of them do feel lucky outside of just that. I mean, there's a reason that you feel lucky. It's not because bad things are happening to you.
Right.
So
Right. Absolutely. I love the part of your story, and you weave this in on all of your other episodes on your YouTube channel, which is phenomenal. You talk about the power of intention, and you mentioned it in your at the beginning of this interview, where you went to bed with the intention of seeking kind of answers, or like, what's going to happen in my future? I'm down out on my luck. I'm in an efficiency, sleeping on a mattress on the floor, like, I need a sign, or I need some kind of, you went to bed with the intention, almost like ask, believe to receive. You're asking the universe, asking God, your higher power, and you're like, I need some kind of direction. Do you believe that you going to bed, before you went to bed, and having kind of setting the intention, looking for answers, kind of queued up that dream in some type of way, using the power of intention?
I do believe that it was, I mean, there was intention there. And so
Yes.
I do believe that is true. And for myself, I really believe in God and
Yes.
a higher power that we're connected to, not
Yes.
that we're separate, that we're connected to, that we're all connected to. And so I personally believe in that. I'm a very spiritual person, and
Mhm.
I've had lots of dreams like that. And for example, at one point, I was a journalism student. So I went to college to study journalism and broadcast news. And I had this newspaper that was delivered to my house every morning because it was part of the assignment to read the newspaper. I know some people listening to this are like, oh, who reads the newspaper anymore? But that was part of our assignment to do that. So that I had this subscription to the newspaper. And so it almost every morning on the weekdays, it was gone. It wasn't there. And so I was, a little angry and frustrated about it because I needed it for my assignment. So I had to go to the store and buy another newspaper. So I went to sleep one day and prayed to, what I believe is God, for answers to stop this from happening, and to find out what was happening and to stop it from happening. And then the very next morning when I woke up, I had another very similar dream that was the same sensation as the lottery dream and many others, that I saw this kid walking up to grab the newspaper, and he was just about to grab it. And it was so real that I woke up and got out of bed like hours before I would normally get up. And I mean, the sun was barely coming up. And I went outside, and there was this kid who was probably, I don't know, 12, 13, maybe 9, I don't know, right around there. He was getting close to the newspaper, and I just looked at him and glared at him, and he never took it again. But you know, that where does that information come from?
That is incredible. And you know what? I'm getting the chills again, because that's another sign. I have to add something that is very organic and spontaneous. It's actually not on our show flow here, but I had a very similar experience. Everyone watching, please take a page out of this playbook of manifesting, because you almost like you asked for answers, you asked for some insight, and you got it. And then I remember when I was in college back in the day, I was at my apartment and I had this voice, you know, and that voice is like a small whisper, but it's almost like a scream at the same time. Intuition, gut instinct, whatever you want to call it, the Holy Spirit. We all have different names for everything, but it was so loud, but it was a still small voice. And it said, go and look in your backyard. Someone is going to steal you. Someone's stealing your bike right now. So, and I was like, this is crazy. But I went, and someone was about to steal my bike. And as soon as I opened up the curtain and turned the light, they ran. So that's another story. Even though it's like a small, you know, story, it's very powerful. The same kid robbing you of your newspapers, you had that insight, and then you solved it. So that is so ironic. I absolutely love stories like that, because it gives me hope for everyone watching out there. You know, listen to Tim's story. If you need answers, ask your higher power. Don't be afraid to ask, believe, receive. It's in the good book. Ask, believe, and be also ready to receive. I think a lot of people, Tim, block their manifesting powers because, number one, they don't believe. Number two, they don't feel worthy of it. And number three, they don't want to receive because they think if they receive, they're going to get some kind of negative backlash. They're going to get maybe judged by others. They're going to get unwanted attention and whatnot. So, you know, keep that in mind, everybody. And I just want to ask you this. We talked about kind of like tapping into the future with your dream, which was so cool. It's almost like gave you like a foresight, like a premonition of what was going to happen, and very powerful. So prior to winning, it was so real, but you had many, many dreams. So again, do you feel like some people have more of this power, if you will, if you had to put a name on it or label, than other people? Do you feel like some people have been like, I don't know how to put into words, but that you've been kind of, I don't want to say anointed or chosen, but you have definitely different special powers that not other people have, or that they haven't tapped into yet?
Well, that's an interesting question. I've heard some people that say that, you know, some of this type of thing is genetic. It's funny. I was just talking to someone about this yesterday.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I do have, I'm not going to mention anyone in particular, but I do have people in my family that have had similar experiences, not that have won the lottery, but so they're, you know, I'm open-minded to the possibility of some of this being genetic, but regardless of that, I think that you can really, if you put your intention out there, no matter your genetics, regardless of your genetics, you can expand your ability to tap into that sort of thing. I think that most people can do that. And for myself, after the lottery win and a little bit further in life, I really intentionally did try to expand it. And I believe that I did expand it. And I believe that people can do that. And for myself, I strongly believe in prayer, and which is arguably a form of meditation. And I think that can be very powerful. I think that there are lots of ways to expand that type of thing. So I think that people can expand, they can tap into it. And you don't need to be of a certain, you don't have to have the right genes, so to speak. But there are people that think that you do have to have the right genes. I don't have all the answers, but it's an interesting subject.
It really is. And that's what I love about your YouTube channel. Everyone that's watching, make sure you hop over to Tim's channel and subscribe, because you have a lot of great guests on your show. And what I really find interesting is that you are doing almost active research with other lottery winners. And you find that very captivating that, are there, it's almost like you're sifting to see if there's any similar strands or characteristics of their stories that match to yours. So it's almost like you're an expert doing daily research on this on your show. So my question is for you, have you seen other trends in their stories that are similar to yours? Did they have dreams of winning? Did they feel lucky? Did they have some kind of outside premonition? Did they speak it into existence? And you've had winners on your show where they were not even avid, lottery players. They never really play the lottery, but they had a sign and then they played like maybe 1 or 2 tickets and they won. It was like so easy for them. Tell us a little bit of what you've seen when you interview your guests and the similar trends of other lottery winners.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. One of the reasons that I love journalism, but in interviewing people, but another reason that I'm doing that is that I love meeting other lottery winners. And like you said, I do enjoy seeing how their stories compare, how they're the same or different. And one of those aspects is whether they thought that they might win before they won and why. And there are plenty of other lottery winners that have had a dream about it before it's happened. I've met a couple, and there's one that I hope to interview soon, but there are quite a few also that believe that they manifested it. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned the 112 million winner earlier, but there are plenty of, I've interviewed so many people that believe that. It's very, very interesting. And quite a few of them feel that they have been lucky. Yes. And this isn't the case for every lottery winner. I mean, I've met lottery winners that believed it was the right place at the right time, but they also believed that they had a chance, right? Which is why they played. Right. And I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone, but it is very interesting. I just interviewed a lottery winner yesterday that won cash for life in Canada. She won $1,000 per week for life. And she is another example of someone that believes that she manifested. She's very into the universe and things happening for a reason. And she believes that that it did. And I'm open-minded to that. A lot of people really believe in speaking things into existence. And there are lottery winners that I've interviewed, quite a few of them that did that.
Wow. Powerful insight there, Tim. I want to also add that, like Timothy said, you can do prayer, meditation, you can do a vision board. I coach in my online coaching program at JNLVIP.com that to use the power of vision board, whether it's to win the lotto or to get your dream job or to meet your dream soulmate or to have a dream vacation. Like, I really believe the universe is a menu and you can just put your order in. I'm the big believer in The Secret. I had the privilege of having Dr. Joe Vitale write one of the forwards of my book, and these forward thought leaders and even back to Einstein, he believed in God, but he also believed in the magic and miracles of the universe. And as a miracle creator, because I like to create miracles and success breakthroughs as a transformational coach, we have to tap into these things that are actually, they're free to use. And I think also people are afraid to use them because, Tim, they feel like they got to pay someone or go to a psychiatrist or go to a therapist, or they have to, it's always just, it's inside of us, and just using the power of asking and then believing. It's such a beautiful daily rituals that anyone can do. Now, again, I'm not trying to persuade anyone or to convince anyone. It's just, I would like for everyone out there to have a fun little experiment, be your own guinea pig, see what works for you, see if it does come true, have fun, come back to this video and post below your research. When you put something out, maybe you've spoken into existence, you named it and claimed it. You, like Timothy did, we went to bed with the intention of getting some kind of insight and some kind of answer. He had a dream. Put your answers below. We would love to hear and read your comments because this is an interactive channel. And I want to now talk about how winning the lottery really blessed you. You went from living in efficiency, sleeping on the floor in a mattress, to working at a gas station, to then being able to put yourself through school. You're now a very successful film festival founder. You are a published author, filmmaker, very popular YouTuber interviewing other movers and shakers in this genre. Tell me about how winning the lottery was able to then open up all these doors for you as a film festival founder, filmmaker, and author and YouTuber.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, as an author, it's a book that I'm still working on. So it's not out yet. So you mentioned published. So I just wanted to clarify that, but I am working on that. But I have made a few films, and I founded a film festival a few years ago. Excuse me, a few years ago. I'm passionate about film and the arts and that sort of thing. And also very passionate about exploring the unknown. One of the films I did was a feature-length documentary on ghosts. So I'm very fascinated with that sort of thing, and life after death, reincarnation. I've interviewed someone that's had a near-death experience on my YouTube channel. So it's not just lottery winners,
right?
But it's very, I'm pursuing my passions, what I'm passionate about. And so I think when you win the lottery, it for a lot of people, I would argue probably every lottery winner I've met, but at least the majority of them, can make you a larger version of yourself, meaning that it can magnify your personality. So if you're really into giving and charity, you're going to do that on a larger level. If you're really into the church, you might build a church. If you're really into film, you might make a film. If you're into whatever, fill in the blank. I think it can magnify your personality. Now, if you're into vices, it could be a negative thing, but I think it can be very positive.
Yes.
And it is for a lot of people that I've met. I think it can be very positive. There's this stigma and this generalization within our society that the lottery is a blessing or a curse.
Right.
Well, who are you before you won the lottery?
Right.
You have more financial power when you win the lottery, perhaps more financial freedom, but it's not really necessarily going to change who you are. You might learn more. It might change some relationships and change the many dynamics within your life, but it doesn't necessarily change who you are fundamentally as a person. Right. So it's interesting.
Absolutely. Great insight. I have to ask you a really crutch question now. If you did not win the lottery, do you think that you were able to then open up all those doors, like go to journalism school, go to college, and have kind of like the financial resources that you needed to, kind of kickstart your projects as a filmmaker and a journalist? Because I know you were saying, you weren't on the streets homeless, but you were it was a little bit bleak. You were just getting by. Do you think that, and I like how you said you used your winnings, the blessed financial abundance that you manifest and receive to actually then do something productive with it and go to journalism school? Do you think that you would have been able to have done exactly what you did if you did not win the Powerball?
I think fundamentally, as far as going to college, I was trying to go to college before I won. It just helped me pay for it easier. I would have went one way or the other. It's just that I would have taken a different path, probably went to a different college, maybe a different city, and maybe even a different field. If my intention was to get into a profession that paid a lot of money, maybe I would have pursued, I would have kept that, would have been more in my mind. Right. So in that sense, but in the sense of pursuing the type of thing I pursued, I still would have done that for sure. And I would have found a way, because you don't need to win the lottery to pursue your dreams. You don't need to win the lottery to achieve your dreams. It can help, but 99.9% of everyone who has ever achieved their dreams has not won the lottery. And that, is very true. So there are people that come from nothing and make it. I interviewed a guy he came from a third world country in South America, and he was very poor. He grew up hungry. He turned on the tap for water and air would come out, and he didn't speak English. Now he speaks several languages. He was kidnapped. He got out of that. He overcame the odds, and he immigrated to the United States. He now speaks several languages, and he went on to win the lottery, which is why I interviewed him. But he donated his entire prize, which was $250,000, to help feed the homeless.
Amazing.
And then on top of that, he went on he's a renowned chef. He's cooked for several presidents of the United States and several celebrities. So he talk about someone that, I mean, and you have your own story, but you can overcome the odds and you don't need the lottery to do it. That's my point.
Absolutely. Great point. Now, I love the point that you expressed throughout this interview that you're a very spiritual person. But that leads me to this next question, because I coach a lot of women. They have different beliefs. Some are, devout Christians. They believe in Jesus Christ as their savior. Some are more open, more, new age. Some are just like, the universe. Some really are not that spiritual. So the whole gamut. But I believe in pouring light and love into everybody. And I would love to know, you say you're very spiritual. I'm very spiritual too. I was raised in a very religious upbringing. It was like very religious. Actually, I was raised Mormon, believe it or not, which was really interesting, but I didn't really adhere to all the principles. It was very, very, very intense, needless to say. But I am spiritual, more spiritual than religious. But out of curiosity, your childhood, you being spiritual, believing in divine intervention and a higher meaning to everything, and everyone that you've interviewed, you hear different but similar stories. Did you have a very religious childhood growing up?
I did not. I have, my mother was religious. She was Christian. My father was more, he was not, but he believes that we're connected to something and beyond ourselves. And so I grew up as, I would say, very spiritual. I always believed in God. I believed that we're connected to something higher than ourselves. And I always believed in getting answers through prayer. And I believed that since I was a little kid. But that wasn't from religion for myself. I guess, as a little kid, I was a bit more, I did go to church, a Christian church once in a while. So I guess I did, but I wasn't strict. I wasn't strict, but I did believe and follow, Jesus and some of what the Bible taught at that time. So it's interesting.
Great question. And the reason why I asked that is because it wasn't like you were, I don't want to say brainwashed or spoon-fed or forced religion. You had this innate already knowing that you were spiritual and there was something bigger than you. And I think that's a really big key. As a transformational coach, everyone watching out there, take a page out of Tim's book, do what works for you, right? As long as you're living your best version of yourself, you're using the tools that everyone has, whether it's prayer, meditation, doing your vision board, doing your vision journals, journaling, writing it out. I like to tell my clients around the world, you can name and claim it, use the power of your mouth, because your mouth is your magic wand, speak it into existence, but you can also write out your goals and dreams, spell, like that you're spelling, you're putting it's a powerful exercise that anyone can do. So very, very interesting. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the projects you're doing now. Film festival founder, tell us about that, and tell us how you are actually using everyone that you interview on your YouTube channel to really kind of help, do the YouTubing with the films, how they kind of fuel each other.
Yeah, so I founded a film festival in 2010, the Mile High Horror Film Festival, and it features horror movies, sci-fi movies, thrillers from around the world, because I'm a big fan of genre films and have been for the longest time. And I love that. And so I'm very passionate about that, but also passionate about creating film is one of the things. I love entertaining people.
Right.
I'm just so unbelievably in love and passionate about entertaining people. And I love journalism and interviewing people. So I kind of combined all of these interests along with my experience from film school and journalism school and working on various productions and films to create this YouTube channel whereby I'm interviewing other people that are fascinating, including some other lottery winners. And it really feeds my soul, I would say, to meet and interview interesting people that I find interesting, at least people that have come across sudden wealth in one way or another, or they've overcome the odds. I interviewed a person that's an expert with dreams and that sort of thing. And an out-of-body experience expert, one of the most renowned out of body experience experts in the world. And he saw this bombing happen in London a few days before it happened. It was very widely publicized, as well as a person that died for 11 and a half minutes and came back to life. And his consciousness lived on. And I find that type of thing very interesting. But also lottery winners, it's not all spiritual. There are lottery winners and people that have come into sudden wealth that, and those types of interviews are very interesting as well.
Yeah, that's great. You have the whole spectrum, the whole gamut. What would you say out of all of the people that you've interviewed, and particularly lottery winners, what was the most interesting story on how they won?
The most interesting story on how they won. Well, there's
Besides
so many.
yours.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course. Well, this woman that won 112 million, I mean, she wrote down that exact amount and played when it got to that amount, 112 million, with that intention, and then she won. I mean, what are the odds of that happening? Wow. So that definitely ranks right up there. But there are people that have these experiences before they win that lead them to believe that they're going to win in one way or the other. And when that happens, I try to latch onto that and ask them about that type of thing, because it's really, really fascinating to me because of my own story, and I can kind of relate,
Absolutely. I love it. Wonderful. Well, you know what? You have such an interesting story, and it's very insightful, and I have to say motivational, because it gives us hope in believing and dreaming. Now, not everyone's going to go and win the Powerball, and I'm not really promoting playing the lottery. What I am promoting here is that you can tap into the power of your mind. You can tap into your own, I call it VIP power, if you will, believing, speaking it into existence, writing it down like your next guest on your next future episode on your channel, naming and claiming it. And back to your story, that you went to bed with the intention, asking for some kind of direction or a sign. You use the power of prayer. And then once you had the dream, you were convinced, you were so convinced that you started playing more, you took action. What do you feel like that's a downfall when people receive some type of sign, some kind of inclination, divine download, whatever you want to call it, and they're supposed to be doing something on the next step, and then they fail to do it? Like, you had that divine dream. It was so real that it prompted you to believe you're going to win. So you then went to play more. Do you feel like some people kind of block their miracles or success breakthroughs because they get a sign, they get some kind of inclination, but they don't take action because of fear?
Absolutely. I think it's very important to take action. I mean, so if you're really into manifesting and that sort of thing, you could do that all day long. But if you don't take action, I mean, so the Wright brothers with the airplane, or anyone that's invented, the person that invented the radio, Marconi, I believe. But anyone, they have this vision, they believe, but what if they never took action? It wouldn't have happened. You can't buy, and the lottery, you can't win without buying a ticket. But with anything in life, you have to take action. That you have to put yourself in the position of something happening and try again. Einstein said something to the effect of, what was his quote? But it's something that you have to, I don't remember the exact quote, but
what's the gist of it? Yeah.
The gist of it is that you learn from mistakes. Like it's a positive thing, or failing is what it was. Fail a million times. This isn't the quote, but the gist of it is you can fail a million times, and that's, it's a positive thing, because you're putting yourself out there trying, and eventually you'll get it right. That's how you achieve anything, is by.
And to add to that point, it's almost like he was saying, it's not really failure. It's just showing you what to not do again. So you're getting closer, keep going, never give up. Right.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. By the way, I love the Einstein behind you. And I had actually a question come in. What does the T=RM stand for?
Oh, that's a good question. I get that a lot. So this was here when I came here. So So it's not an actual scientific formula. I think it was, I wish I had a better answer than that, but it was here when I got here. I've had people make things up and tell me that.
Yeah, wonderful. Einstein is amazing. I'm a big Tesla fan, 369 and the fingerprint of God. It's everywhere. If you really kind of look at it, Fibonacci sequence, and it's a beautiful universe that we live in. I really enjoy this interview. Before we wrap up, I just want to give you an opportunity to thank our audience members and give any final remarks on anything you want to share with them motivational wise on how you said you're living your passion. You've tapped into the tools that work for you, power of prayer, visualization. Anything you want to share with our global audience to help them continue on their best journey in life?
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for listening or watching wherever you are in the world. And thank you so much for having me. As far as any last words today, I just think that to a very large extent, anything is possible. How you perceive the world is very important. I think in positivity. Is the glass half full? Is the glass half empty? Do you look at things and think that this is possible? Because if you believe and then you visualize and then you take action, I think that can be very powerful. And I think almost anything to a very large extent can be accomplished. I mean, look what human beings have done and look at what everyone has overcome. And you don't need to win the lottery to achieve your dreams. Right. You really, really don't. And so I just want to emphasize that, but you can win the lottery if you play. Just be responsible, but also know that you do have a chance, because that's true. And the lottery is not paying me to say that.
Absolutely. I love what you said there, because even without the financial resources or not, you can still pursue your dreams. Thoughts become things. And the harder you work, the luckier you get. And luck is labor under correct knowledge. You've got to take action, whether you have millions in the bank or not. I believe in that you really create your dream life, and you can make it fun and interesting. You can meet interesting people along the way that have similar vibrations. You can really resonate with their own personal story. And I just want to personally thank you for being so open about your story. A lot of people win the lottery and then they disappear. They become, they ghost everybody out of fear, but you're very open. You have a great channel on YouTube. Everyone, make sure you go and subscribe. And before closing, any future projects that you are launching that we can look out for, your book? I know you have another episode coming with the $112 million winner. Anything you want to share with us before we sign off?
Well, you can check me out on YouTube, or you can Google my, you can find, I have my website, or find me on YouTube with the podcast. I believe it's also now on Spotify and a number of other places if you just want to listen to it. But what you can expect in the near future are more interviews with lottery winners. I have a couple coming up, one with this $112 million winner who believes, she's very much into manifesting and played with that specific amount. So that's fascinating. Yesterday, I just interviewed this lottery winner who won $1,000 per week for life, cash for life in Canada. And her story is really, really fascinating as well. So you can expect more interviews like that. So yeah, but thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. And what I want to say before we sign off, again, everybody, let's have a fun experiment. Whatever you want to manifest, be your own little guinea pig, write it out, speak it out, name and claim it, believe it, and then just see if it really does work. And then come back to this video and post below your findings. And don't forget, you have to believe, ask, and receive, okay? So signing off, thank you again, Timothy Schultz. I'm Jennifer Nicole, and I just love speaking to really cool people like Timothy. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more.